Today we'll be going over Dead by Daylight's forgotten survivor Benedict Baker. This character is a lore character. We have also never seen Benedict Baker. He's known for providing most of the lore bits and pieces that are just throughout the game that describe the entity's realm and its mechanics. So Benedict Baker is usually at the top of characters and prop pages. He's usually the quotes at the top of them. However, only up until the release of Chapter 8 A Curtain Call, which is the Clown's chapter, his quotes just stopped appearing for new additions to the realm. And I think these are replaced with other quotes, or there just aren't any anymore. But yeah, it's unknown what happened to him. But here is a quick overview of Benedict Baker. Benedict Baker was actively looking for the entity's realm and wanted to find out how to enter it and how it works. He eventually succeeded and is now trapped in the endless cycle of the trials like the other survivors whom he has met. He even has met some of the killers. He keeps a journal detailing his encounters with the other survivors, the killers, and the realm of the entity. Not much is known about his current condition, but he is known to still be a survivor and alive. Anyways, we're going to get into his journal now. In the top right will appear the date of the journal entry. I began my search in the summer of 1956 after hearing of the town of Weeks, a place that had an unusual number of missing persons reports. America is filled with such towns, but what made this one more odd than some was that there had never been a report of a body found. Indeed, the number of open missing cases stood at a staggering 364, the last of which happened a mere 10 weeks ago. Thus, I embark on my journey. It only took me a few hours upon my arrival to feel the malignant presence that lurked in the forgotten town of Weeks. Its buildings and structures in various states of decay, all of them abandoned to the ravages of time. I visited the library in Riverfield, a nearby town. It didn't take me long to find information about the region. Once a vast, prosperous and sprawling industrial area, Weeks suddenly became a ghost town. Not through the lack of iron ore, but an account of a series of terrible disasters. Once again, I had found a place touched by the darkest of evils, so powerful that it spread like a virus in the area, consuming the world around it, rotting the core from within. The locals of Riverfield would not discuss or talk further of the town of Weeks. The locals acted like that sort of thing you would see in your weekly Penny Dreadful, their eyes wild with terror. What happened here? I have spent 2 days in this derelict library. The archives are somewhat unorganized, but I have managed to learn more about the town of Weeks. I get this eerie feeling as I sit in that basement, but I feel a need to learn more. I have come too far now. I managed to place some parts together and it seems like everything leads back to the Macmillan Estate, which the Macmillan Estate, by the way, is the Trapper's map and is also like where the Trapper is from, just as a little note. A huge industry with a mine and foundry that are the former heart of Weeks. I found some police reports and complaints, but no sign of legal action. The archives here do not tell the whole story, but my mind tells me that I need to find that place. As the Macmillan Estate might sit upon some answers about these unexplainable disappearances, I simply must go further. I feel somewhat uneasy, as my comfort zone most often is behind a desk, but I cannot be shackled to words and must instead make use of action. All I've managed to find out is that some deaths occurred, and it was just shortly after that this rot took hold of Weeks. I have tried to find my way, and I asked the librarian, but she refused to even talk about it. All maps in the archive show the way, but nobody is willing to take me. I will set forth tomorrow on my own. I cannot explain what happened today. I awoke to find myself in a strange place. I have no memory of how I came here. My last recollection was of leaving Weatherfield and beginning my journey towards the Macmillan Estate. The last part I had to travel by foot. I seemingly never any fire burns next to me. I cannot even tell how long I lay asleep. This area of the woods seems to have no day or night, just an intolerable gloom. I am unsure what awaits me, but I will keep filling this journal, maybe with the hope to warn others. Am I alive? I no longer know or care. I have tried to hike my way out of these forsaken woods to no avail. Multiple times I have tried to escape the fog, and each time I have come face to face with a nameless terror that stalks the darkness. A being in a human form, even though I feel human, is an exaggeration. It is a shadow of its former self, a horrid shadow. I fear I cannot escape this place, nor the being stalking these woods. I just barely managed to escape. Silence is key, it seems. I have also seen this evil thing. This entity reaches out to pluck those who fall into its path, bringing them to its hideous construct where it plays with their soul for all eternity. The entity curses these innocents with an endless game of life and death. Each death brings an awakening into a fresh hell where the hunt begins again. I am but a mere puppet in this grim theatre. What defines reality is just that you can taste and touch. Feel the pain as the blade slides in between your ribs. Taste the iron-tinged flavour of blood in your mouth and the smell of death as the darkness takes you. Is it hope that drives you on? Hoping that the next time will bring your actual death? Or hope that the next exit reveals a way back home? I yearn for some kind of escape, be it death or life. The entity is a force of darkness from an ancient place with no name, no sense of purpose other than to endlessly torture its victims over and over again. It is torture and not death it seeks, as there is always an escape. Perhaps it feeds off our hope, as it seems to offer it to us before crushing it cruelly at the last second. With each death I feel myself weaken, a little piece of my soul devoured by the darkness before I awake. I fear eventually that I will lose hope. I wonder then what this dark entity will do with me then. I want to find out, but I fear the answer. Am I alone here? I believe I have seen traces of others as the beings hunt me. All I seek is that soothing, flickering campfire light. Each killer seems to have been pulled from a place of great darkness. Their own violent actions summon this most ancient of evils from its slumber. The entity reaches out, taking them into the place between worlds where it demands they do its bidding. They must hunt and kill the prey set in front of them. Some go winningly, others need to be convinced. The entity tortures them until they are much less human and far more thing, until the last light of humanity has faded from their souls and they take up their weapons and sacrifice the survivors. The killers are needed to feed the entity, with the hope that keeps it alive. I am a pawn in this parasitic charade. My travels have revealed 4 hellish places, connected by one true evil. Each one features a past so violent and disturbing that it all ends up a jumble of things I will never forget. In these places of such foul thought, something lurks between the fabric of what we know as real and the dream world. Awoken by violence, it touches our world, calling the killers and survivors to it. The more it pulls from the real world, the stronger it becomes, and the more it spreads. I came seeking answers, but I drown in riddles instead. I know not how long I will be able to carry on. I have all the time in the world, but only during the small pauses that I am granted. During the hunt, my time is restrained. I learn more and more, but my hope and sanity depletes faster and faster. What is it to become of me? Have the killers started out at this campfire too? I bid this journal adieu. I must focus on staying alive. So this next part is Sightings. I'll show the picture, but on a wiki it's got the quote, and then at the end it says Benedict Baker's journal, November 1896. I don't know why there's a date on there. Yeah, I don't. But yeah, this is the quote. Death is not death. In this place, life is fleeting. To whomever might find this law, I can but only provide you with one advice. Always move forward. This is what keeps me alive, and have so for a while. If I were to advise further, I would suggest you harvest every forsaken location for anything that might thwart the horrors that lurk within, and keep an eye on the gates. If they open, you must flee. I hope my scribbles have not been in vain. If you find the saw, make use of it and pass it on. If you find me, bury my body. And here is a screenshot of just stuff that Baker has identified in his journal. The following: the entity, killers, stain, heartbeat, meat hooks, generators, exit gates, chests, campfire, keys, hatch, basement offerings, procedural, and survivors. Please subscribe and leave a like. I won't interrupt the video, but from this point on, I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers, so help me reach that subscriber goal by the end of the year by subscribing. I hope you guys enjoy it. Bye. These things differ from time to time, but each acts in a similar manner, and with similar human physical traits, but they are more reminiscent of beasts of burden, even though I can spot some flicker of humanity. With scars and marks on their skin and body, as if they have been self-mutilating themselves. They even look dead. I fail to see some humanity in them. They are bent on finding me, but somehow they refrain from killing me. Instead, I am hung from one of those dreaded hooks. I keep asking myself, why do they not snuff the life out of me themselves? But someone must control them. Might they do someone else's biddings? I keep trying to understand them at the same time as they stalk me. I try finding something that can pinpoint their purpose. I wonder if they might be punished, but in that case, am not I in the same position? Being punished for something as I try to escape and find some way out of here. They play their role. Without any diversions, they are like a machine that is set on finding any living soul. Are they without hope? Who do they serve? Is there even a master? I have never seen them rest or stop. They hunt until the hooks are occupied. But where do they go after that? Trying to find some answers is one of the few things that keep me sane. For now, if you stumble upon one of these beings, you must run and you must hide without any sound. There is a vast monster of a man with a hideous grin torn across the mask that keeps stalking my every move. Similar to a hunter, he tracks us, powering devastating traps amongst the greenery. Extreme vigilance and a light step is essential in avoiding the blood-curdling clench of a bear trap or the clutches of what I've taken to calling the miserable smiling killer. I have but many times managed to get caught in one of these traps. I have nothing but a fear for the feeling of blunt trap spikes grinding against my bones, or for the heavy and deliberate footsteps which always inevitably reveal a plastered, sadistic grin. With the traps and the trapper, it has so far been a constant battle between looking up and looking down. There's another apparition, more terrifying than anything I've ever seen. Hunting amongst the shadows here, it moves like a silhouette, appearing and disappearing at the sound of a dreaded bell. It's impossible to track it. Several times it has caught me without me even seeing it closing in. Often convinced I have my back covered, it was promptly materialized right behind me to strike from close range. Stay still and watch the fog. Don't move, don't blink, and for God's sake, don't breathe. If you can control your fear long enough and can show self-control, sometimes it is possible to see its shimmer as it glides forward if caught at just the right light. I pray for your safety. A most terrible man to behold. His physique is all twisted and disfigured as of by some awful accident. He carries a deadly and cruel chainsaw which he wields with devastating violence, seemingly imbuing him with a superhuman speed for a while. His advantage is also a weakness, as the loud noise can give away his precision, so I have tried to heighten my sense of sound, honing in on any sound that is not stemming from nature. A new varmint has entered the arena. I spotted her as she somehow moved through a wall, clad in bandages that tell an untold tale of something horrid. This nurse, as it seems, brings me new angst during my lonely nights as my mind runs amok. These next killers, by the way, it's actually unknown if these are actually from Benedict himself, but people believe that they are most likely from him. Something, or rather someone, is here now. I've never seen this shape before. A man hiding behind a mask. He comes with a determination, but more worrying, comes with an apparent grasp of the hunt. He does not strike me as someone who even went unwillingly to this place. Is there more to this being than I can fathom? A new terror stalks the darkness. Her appearance strikes me as more intense than others after but a glimpse of her haggard silhouette. With greyish dead skin stretched out over her emaciated body, her arm is a horrid overgrown deformity capable of slashing through both flesh and bone alike. Her very presence speaks of endless torture similar to mine. I wonder, did she refuse the entity's calling until broken, or did she wish for this? I have difficulty keeping my sanity. Each day, this altering world provides me with new trials. A man wearing the robes of a doctor crossed my path. From afar, I witnessed him walking around, searching, but he was not normal. Eyes and mouth pried open, in a painful and disturbing way. Where do these fiends stem from? I do not trust him. He looks like he wants to bring pain, not healing. I will stay away. It is the wisest thing to do. A figure clad in the head of a hare, a most disturbing sight. This new foe holds something human within her, some shard of ordinary life. She seems to be a hunter. I have met many different beings in this place, but this is the first time one with a natural skill of hunting. In any other place, one could deem it a talent. But her knack for tracking, capturing, and killing is something else here. There's something else in her too. She seems to seek something. Whether the killers perform their heinous acts against the compulsions of their diseased minds, or if they are forced into them by external pressures, has long been a matter of debate. But for one killer, nature and the nurture are inextricably linked. Leatherface kills not from a desire to exert his will over others, to satisfy carnal urges, or even to quiet the voices in his head. He kills because he is scared. Scared that others will hurt him. Scared that his family will be displeased with him. Scared that their shared willingness to eat human flesh will be discovered. This place plays tricks on your mind. Constantly I question whether I dream or if I am awake. This most recent horrid ghoul seems to bridge that gap between the states of being awake or asleep. I saw him hunting another poor soul, someone who is not as lucky as me. A man with a hat and a claw-clad hand. A scarred man of sorts. He spotted me, and what actually happened next is still a mystery to me. Dreams took over, and I was sure to die, but I woke up. Not like in the manner where I awake at the campfire, instead I just woke up. Inside this wretched forest, with the memories of nightmares within, I am now afraid to sleep, also to stay awake. At first, I actually believed that it was a pig that slept in front of me on the ground. An animal that somehow had eluded the banalities of my old life and managed to end up at this forsaken and forgotten place. But then it rose, from crouch to standing, with its lifeless eyes nailed to my person. I ran, as I have so brutally learned to do. My curiosity halted my escape after a few feet, and I hid in a cabinet. The pig moved like a predator, and I saw a human body wearing a pig's head as an ornament. It walked by the cabinet, and its snout was just a few inches away from me. I held my breath, aching for freedom. A sudden sound called the pig's attention, and it walked away, but not without giving me a last, final glance, as if it wanted to inform me that I was given a second chance. I will not get a third. As I journeyed through the foggy fells that demarcate the realms of this place, I saw a latter for the first time. I was not alone. Something traversed these forgotten byways, its bright colours still clearly visible, even through the muting effects of the mist that roiled between us. As we emerged into a new yet somehow familiar place, I saw it clearly for the first time. A carnage cavern, pulled by somewhat that appeared to be a horse but was to my eyes older and more terrible. I watched from the trees as a crack appeared at the doorway and a warm golden light spilled forth into this desolate place. The effect was, I suspect, deliberately inviting, but the figure that emerged was anything but. His costume a hodgepodge of ringmaster, clown and other fairground attire. Its face was a nightmare in grease paint, a caricature of a smile slashed across its flabby lips. As its waist were a collection of what looked for all the world like fingers, but what creature would be so monstrous as to collect such trophies? The clown surveyed its new surroundings, and its gaze lit on me. A rictus split its face in two, and it nodded at me before returning to the caravan. I suspect that it prefers its victims to be less aware than I, and I thank the stars for that. She inherited incredible fury from her ancestors. The wrath that flows through her veins is their legacy. The terrible pain she suffered set it off. Swift and lethal, the spirit exacts her revenge endlessly. Last night I got out of the fog. In a matter of speaking, I arrived in a pocket of tranquility where the monster was nowhere to be seen. I stopped running and was immediately filled with a strange calmness. I lay down near the bonfire and closed my eyes for the first time in what seemed like days. After long deep breaths, I plunged into what I first thought was the darkness of a dreamless sleep. And then I saw it, the Bloodweb, a space between reality and abstraction. There's no sleep here, only torment. Even my own mind is shared and bent at the entity's will. I found something odd during today's nightmare, a wreath made of animal bones. Nothing in nature creates something like this. At this campfire, I could finally get some light so that I was able to investigate it further, but I fumbled and dropped it into the fire, and it quickly disappeared. To my surprise, the fire can burn things. But why this, and why not my hand? The next day something had changed. The world differed. My only conclusion is that I was supposed to find this. A simple offering, but to whom? And who made it? Are these offerings my way out of here? The first time I found a chest, I didn't manage to open it before a killer caught me. I got exuberated as something new shined some light on this hellish life I now live. I did not pay enough attention, but the next time I was more careful and I managed to loot it. But I must grasp whatever I find with my hands, because all is lost if the killers lay his hands on me. The only possible escape lies between huge ornate metal gates. They taunt me every time I lay my eyes on them, keeping me in, as a caged animal, but as I discovered, they can be opened. Somehow these generators are the key to getting them open. As I managed to repair enough of them, the gates opened, and I ran with all my soul towards the campfire in the distance. Sometimes I escape and sometimes I stare the entity in the eye and wake up at the never-ending fire. Why aren't the killers following me through the gates? I might never know. These strange machines can be found across this abandoned world. They seem to be some kind of generators fueling lights. At first I paid no attention to them, but as days turned into months, I employed all of my engineering skills to actually fix one. It tracked one of these beings that is after me, but I also noticed that they were somehow tied to something else. This hatch I found baffles me. As I witnessed the last survivor being yet again the victim of the dreaded hook, I stumbled upon it as I slowly backed away. I finally found my keyhole. With my last strength I opened it, entered its tunnels and somehow found my way to the campfire. Now I sit here contemplating its purpose. Is hope more important for the entity than I thought? Is this hatch just a treat you give a dog to as encouragement? For now I take what I can get. These vicious hooks, strewn about this nightmarish world, represent the true horror of the thing that rules this place, this entity. Killers bring their prey to the hooks to torture them before that twisted mess of claws comes down for the finishing blow. There's still a chance of escape once hung from a hook, either by enduring excruciating pain as you twist and turn to attempt to escape with the shoulder in pieces, or sometimes you might even get help from others that also reside within this nightmare. One of the most horrific scenes is not always to be the one on the hook, but rather a witness. To see fear as someone else struggles for freedom is something I wish I couldn't see. Limbs moving in unnatural ways and also my own inside struggle. Sometimes I try to help, but many times my fear of the hooks grows too big. What is survival with blood on your hands?